Wouldn't it be great if there was a convenient way to securely network your on-prem and cloud assets? Well, you're in the right place. If you're as passionate about network security as I am, keep watching to learn more about securing your offensive tools. Hey, welcome to Level Up. My name is Rami, but you might know me as Drunk Rhino online. I'm a security solutions architect at BugCrowd, but I was actually hired from the crowd. Prior to information security, my background primarily stems from infrastructure, networking, and architecture. This laid a strong foundation for me by learning to build first and break later. This helps me find those unique attack angles that many others may not take the same approach to. My experience in the bug bounty community has demonstrated that many of the best bug bounty hunters know how to get the P1s, but they lack the experience when it comes to networking and securing their own infrastructure. Securing your offensive tools is vital, not only for the protection of the data you've worked so hard to obtain, but to safeguard that data of the organizations that you're hunting on. Everyone learns differently, and today I'll demonstrate how you can leverage network security to level up your bounty game. I'm really sorry, I won't make that pun again. So there's a few things we're going to learn today. The first one, creating and securing your software-defined network. Number 2, masking and routing network traffic through an exit node or an egress point. Number 3, sharing files anywhere throughout your software-defined network. And 4, how to SSH from anywhere without an SSH key. So there's a few things you'll need, but before we begin, it's worth noting everything shown in this level up is for demonstration purposes. This tutorial doesn't have to be strictly adhered to, and everything shown here is pretty flexible. In saying that, you're going to need at least 2 devices and a free Tailscale account. So for me, I'm going to be using a Linux VPS with Ubuntu 24.04 LTS, hosted on Linux, a computer with Windows 11, and a mobile phone with Android 14. A couple of months ago, a friend introduced me to Tailscale, and it revolutionized my workflow. I quickly incorporated it alongside other utilities like UFW, uncomplicated firewall, which we'll talk about a bit later. You're probably wondering what Tailscale is. It's a WireGuard-based zero-config, software-defined network allowing you to access your infrastructure from anywhere. It's pretty easy and doesn't come with annoyances like traditional networking, like port forwarding. Personally, I use Tailscale to connect my computers, my home lab, my cloud servers, pretty much everything. It's incredibly convenient to access all of this from anywhere without having to worry about exposing them to the public internet. As security professionals, this was an absolute game changer. It allows me to build and manage my network without the hassle of all those traditional inconveniences. In this guide, I'll walk you through how to set up Tailscale for your bug bounty recon. To get started, head to tailscale.com and set up an account with your OAuth provider of choosing. I won't bore you with the setup process through the video, but it's pretty easy. Download and set it up on what I suggest being your phone and your computer, either Mac or Windows, and then try to ping them from each other. It's guided through the whole process, and it's pretty straightforward. Now that you have secure access and a network set of devices, we still need to set up our VPS and lock it down. In the interest of time for the video, I won't be going over how to set up a VPS, getting Ubuntu updated, and installing a mass. But if you'd like to do so, you need a bit of help, it'll be on the associated blog post. All right, now we're on bugcrowd.com/engagements. All of the engagements here are public, and I recommend using one of these. Make sure you follow the program rules or anything they might state. I've already went ahead and got approval from our own security team, and we do have a public bounty program, of course, which is right here. Make sure you follow all the in-scope and out-of-scope requirements as well as everything else on the page. So for the purposes of the demo, I'll be looking at bugcrowd.com itself. Let's jump into the terminal. Although this isn't an amass tutorial, here's a basic command to get started. We'll do amass enum -passive -d bugcrowd.com -o, and I'll just call it amass_output.txt. This might take a minute. Go grab a coffee, go get some food, and wait for the output to come back. All right. Now that our enumeration's finished, we can always go ahead and check that. Let's go ahead and cat that. There we go. Please don't get mad at me, security team. Let's move on. Now that we have our Recon data, let's go ahead and build our network out and lock it down. First thing we'll want to do is install Tailscale on our VPS itself. All right, so to install Tailscale, run the command provided by Tailscale over here. And let's link it to our Tailscale network and account. It'll prompt you with the URL at the bottom, click through and authorize accordingly. There we go. So firstly, run sudo tailscale up like it says, and now will give us that link. Go ahead and click that and add it to your account. Great. As you can see here now, I have 3 devices in my Tailscale network. That's my laptop that I'm currently using. This is now the Amass VPS box, and this is my phone. Totally optional. You don't have to. I like to rename the machines. It's just easier that way. Just like before, go ahead and connect one of your other devices, and you can directly ping the host name, or you can also ping the addresses here. So this is my laptop. I could just use Drunk Zephyrus or Drunk Zephyrus with the Tailscale name here, and they're the IPv6 addresses, which no one ever uses. Here you can now see my phone is also connected. So let's go ahead and ping S24 Ultra in the terminal from our Recon box. Both devices, as you can see, are connected. Cool, as you can see, I pinged my S24 Ultra, and you can see the Tailscale network here as well. Amazing. Now we have a network set of devices, but we still need to go ahead and secure our VPS now. If you're familiar with most Linux distros, you're likely familiar with uncomplicated firewall, or UFW, that I mentioned a bit earlier. Like the name says, it's a pretty basic firewall. It's more than sufficient for our needs here, and it's installed by default on Ubuntu, which is always nice. Since we've set up networking and remote access through Tailscale, our VPS doesn't need to be public to the whole world anymore. We'll use some basic firewall rules to achieve that. We'll start off by doing sudo UFW default deny incoming to deny incoming traffic. Similarly, we'll allow outgoing traffic since it's a Recon box. Sudo UFW default allow outgoing. Now this one's really important. We need to allow access through Tailscale. So to do that, we'll do sudo UFW allow in on Tailscale 0. Great, got default rules down. Let's go ahead and enable it by doing sudo UFW enable. It's warning us here that it may disrupt existing SSH connections. It's totally okay, go ahead and say yes. So now you can see it's active and enabled on system startup. If you want to see the rules, there are a number of ways you can do that with the UFW. I like doing sudo UFW status verbose. I like using the verbose rule because I can see logging. I can see my default policy, which usually doesn't show if you just do normal status. And you can see here the rules I've defined for Tailscale. To finish it up, we're going to do a couple more commands. We'll do sudo UFW reload and sudo service SSH restart. Cool. Now let's exit our session where we're currently connected by the public IP. Go ahead and exit out. And now I want you to try and re-authenticate to your public IP. So as you can see here, this is the public IP. You'll notice it will time out. That's exactly what we're after. And from this point forward, we're going to SSH using our Tailscale IP or name. There we go. There's the ability not to connect. So now I can just do SSH drunk rhino at Reconbox. You know, it really helps if you turn on Tailscale from your actual device first. Let me go ahead and do that and try again. All right, now that I've done that, let's try that again. There we go. I'm now authenticated through Tailscale with my username and the node address. Remember when I mentioned we'll be able to route our traffic through an exit node or our egress point? That's exactly what we're going to do next. So Tailscale exit nodes are your egress point in your Tailscale network. This will allow you to route all your traffic through a specific device on your Tailnet, similar to how a firewall works in traditional networking. A different way of thinking about it is how you use a VPN service so that you are masking your device through that IP address. In the blog post, I'll link to some of the Tailscale docs and an image illustrating this. But ideally here, what we're trying to do is anonymize our traffic from our other devices to always appear as our exit node. Keep in mind, we're still connected by Tailscale at this point. Okay, first, we're going to have to enable IP forwarding. Cool. Next, similar to a command we previously ran, we're going to want to do sudo tailscale up -- advertise -exit -node. Ignore this, you can address it if you want. It doesn't really matter right now. If you go back to your admin page on Tailscale, there will now be a blue exit node tag under that device. As you can see here, just under Recon box, I have an exit node tag. We're going to have to go ahead and approve that. So click the ellipses or the 3 dots and click edit route settings. Next, you're just going to want to click use as exit node and save. On one of your Tailscale devices now, you're going to want to go ahead and select an exit node. All right, so on my computer, here's Tailscale. And you can see here, we're still connected. Now you want to go to exit nodes. And it does have a recommendation. We only have one, so I'm going to click Recon box here. Now, my IP address will be masked with the Recon box public IP. This is also especially helpful for not getting banned from certain WAFs, not saying Akamai or anything. So if you want to go ahead and check that, you can quickly run a what is my IP? And you can see here, my address is 45.79.237.191. That is my public IP address, not my Tailscale address, nor is it my public home IP address. You can also double check that by saying it's in Sydney and Akamai. All right, so now we've set up our network and we have connected all our devices while using an exit node. But we still haven't shared our Recon data to the rest of our network. That's where Tail Drive comes in. It allows you to share folders with other users and devices on your Tailnet, similar to the way most files work. Once configured, you'll be able to access it, and we're going to map it to Windows like a normal network drive. To begin with, we're going to have to go back to the Tailscale admin portal. First, go to the Access Controls tab. This is written in HJSON, but don't worry, nothing here is too complex. Scroll to the bottom, and we're going to add some code to it. You can see here, I've already added it from line 70 through to line 91. Again, all this will be in the blog post. So what we're doing in the first section is allowing all the devices to share directories and access shared directories to each other. We're just using members of our Tailscale network, and we're allowing them those accordingly. Similarly, in the next section, we're allowing the grants for it. You can always lock this down, and the access controls is a whole nother topic in itself. But for the purposes of this demo, we're just going to leave it quite broad because right now it's just us on our own Tailnet. When you're ready, click Save, and we'll go ahead and share a VPS directory. Jump back to the public VPS terminal, and we'll quickly run a command. It's pretty simple. The syntax is Tailscale Drive share, and then your share name and your path. Keep in mind, these don't have to, the name doesn't have to reflect the name of it on the box. So I'm just going to do Tailscale Drive share Recon box, and I'm just going to use the base user folder here because I just want to access everything and I'm a bit lazy. Let's jump into the Windows device now and access it like a normal network drive. All right. We want to make sure that we map a network drive and not add a network location. Firstly, pick your drive letter. I'm going to pick T for Tailscale. You don't have to. And use the following address, 100.100.100.100:8080. Recommend you leave this one on, and we'll also click connect using different credentials. Click finish. Skip the credentials and click OK. Now you can see here, drunkrhino.au, which is the account, Recon box, and now we're here. Here's our mass output that we had before, and you can see some of the info on the side here. Now it looks like a completely normal network drive. I've made this really big for the purposes of the video, but you can see here, this is my VPS. Fantastic. Let's move on. What really stood out for me with Tailscale was that I didn't need to use SSH keys for my servers. This is where I really felt like it was magical. They do the heavy lifting by taking over the port 22 incoming connections. It'll then authenticate using Tailscale and encrypt it accordingly. So remember when we advertised the VPS as an exit node? We're going to make one more tweak to that command. Let's jump back to the terminal. Okay, so remember before we did Tailscale up --advertise --exit -node. We're going to add --SSH to that. So it'll look like this. Tailscale up --SSH --advertise -exit -node. So it's warning us here that by rerouting our SSH traffic, we're going to be So as you can see by the warning here, it's saying we're currently connected over Tailscale, and this action will reroute our SSH traffic and it will cut off our session. That's okay, we understand that. And next we're actually gonna SSH from the Tailscale website. So go ahead and do this, and you're just gonna have to add what it says up here. Except risk equals lose -SSH with the sudo command, of course. Cool. As you can see, it's now exited. Let's go back to the website for the final time and SSH from there. Okay, let's jump back to the machines tab. And now you can see we have an SSH tag as well as the exit node tag. Amazing, that's what we want. If you hover over towards the ellipses here, you can see the SSH button, or you can also click SSH to the machine under the ellipses. So let's go ahead and SSH from the website. You can pick your username here. In good faith and security, I'm going to use my account that isn't root. As you can see here, it's brought up a window for us to re-authenticate to Tailscale. Again, with things like access policies, you can change how all of this works. It's totally up to you. Now that we're authorized, it's going to bring up a Cloud Shell. Cool. Just like that, we're back in our VPS. If we want to run a couple of things, we can look at PWD, we can ls, we can see our mass output here. And now you have SSH without the SSH keys from anywhere you want. You can also see in the background here, it's created an extra node on our network. Don't worry, once it's done, they'll destroy it. This is just to allow you to access accordingly. Congratulations, you've now built a secure, flexible, and private Recon network using Tailscale. Not only have you streamlined your workflow, but you've also gained valuable skills applicable to both offensive and defensive security. Remember, this is just the beginning, and there's plenty more out there and plenty more features to use. In the world of network security constantly evolving, I encourage you to experiment, learn, and adapt with these tools to your unique needs. Everyone is different. I hope this guide empowered you to take your bug bounty hunting and security practices to the next level using network security. Feel free to share your experiences with me, or if you have any questions, you can mainly find me on Twitter or X. But before you click off the video, I really encourage you to go check out the other Level Up articles and videos available. Thanks so much to Bug Crowd for letting me share today.